Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This is the 44th tutorial in this course, and in this tutorial we are going to continue with our discussion on functions, and we're going to discuss a few more things that we left in the previous tutorial. I'm going to talk about the parameter list and the function declaration statement. Then we're going to also understand what arguments are and what formal and actual parameters are, and how values can be passed from one function to the other. So what the program is going to do, essentially, it's not going to do something too complicated. We're going to have a simple menu that we're going to display to the user using the main function, and the menu is going to ask the user to provide integer input, and we're going to display a list of 3 countries and 3 numbers corresponding to the 3 countries. And through the function that we're going to have in the program, we're going to display the capital of the country, the input for which is provided by the user, right? So it's not going to do too much, but it's going to do just as much as we need to talk about the things that we have to understand. So as you can see, using code blocks, I've saved a file. I've given it the name capitals. It has the extension .c. On line 1 in this file, I have my header file, and there's no more lines of code in the program. So we're going to start with the function declaration. I'm going to name my function capitals, and this function is not going to return any value. So of course I'll have to type in the void keyword, and then I'll follow that up with the name of the function, which is, as I said, going to be capitals. And within the parentheses, this time the parameter list is not going to be empty. Instead, I'll have to type in the keyword int, because this function is going to receive integer input, right? Or it's going to have an integer argument. So that's why we have to type in the data type of the argument that it's going to receive, and the data type is going to be int. And I'll put in a semicolon to terminate the statement, so the function declaration is complete. On the next line, I'll type in the keyword main, follow that up with the parentheses, set of parentheses, and within curly braces, I'm going to type in the code for main. So I'll start with a printf statement, and I'll display the message provide input on screen first. I'll put in the new line escape sequence at the end, and the semicolon to terminate this statement. The next line, I'll type in printf again, and I'll type in press or enter 1 for USA. As I said, we're gonna just have 3 countries in the list. If you want to add more, then you may, but since I don't want the tutorial to be too long and also too lengthy, and the program to be too lengthy, I'm just gonna deal with 3 countries here. So enter 2 for Australia, and a new line escape sequence at the end, and a semicolon to terminate the statement. And lastly, I'll enter 3 for India. Okay, and I'll put in the new line escape sequence here too, and the semicolon to terminate the statement. And of course, the user is going to provide the input, so we have to store it in some variable, and for that I'll have to declare one, and I'm going to call my variable choice, right? And after the last printf statement in the main function, I'll use scanf to store the input in the variable choice, and to do that I'll have to first type in the %d format specifier within double quotes, and I'll put in a comma and then the address of operator, which is the ampersand symbol, and the name of the variable, which is choice. Put in a semicolon to terminate this statement, and now I'm going to call my function capitals, and while calling it, I'm not going to leave the parentheses empty. Instead, I'm going to call it with the input choice, right? So the input is provided to us, it's stored in the variable choice. We've done that using the scanf function, and now we're going to pass that input as a value, as an argument to the function capitals. And we've discussed the function call statement in the previous tutorial, in which I told you that to call a function you just have to type in its name and the parentheses, and you have to put in a semicolon at the end. We're doing pretty much the same here. It's just that since we want this value to be passed as an argument to this function, you have to put in the name of the variable within the parentheses here, right? And after the closing curly brace of the main function, you'll have to define the function capitals. So to do that, I'll have to type in the keyword void, right, the return type for the function, and then the name for the function, and then within parentheses here, I'm going to not just type in the data type of the argument that this function is going to receive, but I'll also have to declare a dummy parameter, right? So I'll have to declare a variable that is going to receive the value that has been passed to this function, right? So I hope this is not too complicated, but I'm going to call this variable ch, and this variable is going to be specific to this capitals function. So it's going to be known just to this function. It's not going to be known to the main function. It's got nothing to do with main. It's just that we are passing the value choice to the capitals function, and we need to store it somewhere within capitals so that we can use it. And to do that, we have declared an integer called ch within the parentheses here, right? So this value, this variable choice, the one that you see within the function call statement in the parentheses, is the actual parameter, and the ch variable that you see in the function definition statement within parentheses is the formal parameter, right? So that's the difference between actual and formal parameters. And of course, we'll have to get a pair of curly braces to type in the code for the capitals function. And I'm going to switch over the value that gets stored in the variable ch, and to do that I'll have to type in switch within parentheses. I'll have to type in the name of the variable, which is ch, get my curly braces for switch, and since ch will probably have one of these three values, 1, 2, or 3, we're going to have three cases, right? And one default case if the value is not one of these three values. So the first case is going to be if the input is 1, and if that is the case, then we're going to use printf to display capital of USA, and that is of course Washington DC. So I'll type in that and put a new line escape sequence at the end. Well, this is not necessary, so I don't have to do that, right? And I'll type in break to get out of this case. And then on the next line I'll type in case space 2, and if this is the input that's provided by the user, then we have to display the capital for Australia, which is Canberra, right? And I'll put a semicolon to terminate this statement. I'll type in break to get out of the case, and the last case, or sorry, the third case for the switch, the last is going to be default, is going to be if the user input is 3, right? And if that is the case, then we have to display the capital of India, which is of course New Delhi. That's the place where I stay. And you have to put in a semicolon to terminate this statement and a break to terminate the case, and then you have to type in default to show a message on screen if the input is not one of these three numbers. And if that is the case, you just have to show the message invalid input. That should be sufficient, right? And of course, you don't need a break statement for the default case. I'll save the file. When I click on build and run, you see that in the output window I get this output: provide input 1 for USA, 2 for Australia, and 3 for India. So if I type in 1 and press the enter key, I see the message capital is Washington DC, and I'll execute the program again. This time I'll type in 2. When I press the enter key, you see that the capital is Canberra, and if I select 3 for India, I see that the capital is New Delhi. So that's it for now, and I just wanted to talk about arguments in this tutorial and actual and formal parameters, of course. So in the next tutorial, we are going to talk about return type for functions, and in this tutorial we saw that values can be passed from one function to another. So we passed the choice, the value that was contained in the variable choice, to the capitals function. So we pass a value from main to capitals. You can also pass values back to main, and to do that you have to use the return statement, right? So we're going to check that out in the next tutorial. If you're returning an integer, then you have to change the data type for your function. So I would have to remove this keyword void here, and also in the declaration statement I would have to replace that with int. If you're returning a float, then you have to replace void with float. If you're returning a character, then you have to replace void with char, and if you're returning a double, then you have to replace void with double. So we're going to see how to do that in the next tutorial, but for the time being, this is all I wanted to discuss, and I hope you guys had fun watching this tutorial. And I know it was long, and I just hope that it wasn't boring. So thank you so much, and please subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.